What's going on, YouTube family? Welcome to Automotive Life. My name is Lucky, and today we're going to be doing a video on how to get an auto loan when you have bad credit. Now, currently this topic is trending on Google and YouTube, and there's a lot of these fake credit gurus out here giving people really bad information. So I wanted to give you a perspective from not only a dealer, but as a banker, and also how the credit bureaus look at your credit and some of the things that work and do not work. Now, we're going to give you examples of somebody that has a repo, somebody that has bad credit, and also somebody that has no credit. So first, let's go ahead and talk about the economy. Obviously, we're in a recession, so banks tend to lend a little bit less and have higher restrictions. The last 2 to 3 years, as you guys can see, pretty much anybody with a pulse and a few dollars can get an actual auto loan. So that's why there's so many people coming out now saying that they can't get approved for auto loans, they can't get approved for a certain dollar amount, or they can't get the car that they want. So before I jump into the 3 examples, I want to talk a little bit first about credit. So whether you're trying to buy a car, if you just had a repo, you have bad credit, or you're a first-time buyer, all these things are going to apply to you. The first thing is they're going to ask you for a massive down payment. So if you're trying to buy a $25,000 car, they're probably going to force you to put anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000 down, and your interest rate's probably going to be anywhere from 20 to 29%. So the first thing I'd recommend is take your down payment, whether it's $5,000 to $7,000, or even if you have less than that, buy a cheap, affordable car. I don't care if it's $1,000 to $3,000. Get you something can get you from A to B for the next 90 days. After that, you're going to take your rest of your money and you're going to go to every single small bank and credit union in your town and ask them for a secured credit card. Now, I like Discover, Capital One, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Navy Fed, Penn Fed. There's a bunch of banks that do this, but our whole goal is we want to start building new trade lines ASAP. This is very important because if we go out and we set up all these credit cards within the first 90 days, each one of these things are going to be reporting. Now, revolving credit is the fastest to report and the fastest to jump up your score. A lot of people get this misconstrued where I'm going to clean my credit and then add on some trade lines or then apply for funding. Don't do that. Start today. This is the most important thing. 90 days will go extremely fast. But if you do it this way, not only will you have a better score, so you'll get a better rate, more than likely you won't be asked for a massive down payment. On top of that, if you have some money left, these are revolving credit card accounts that are secured accounts. I recommend doing a security-backed CD when it comes to a regular traditional loan. So if you go to Wells Fargo, Bank of America, you can give them $1,000 to whatever, $10,000, depending on how crazy you want. They give you a CD, they can give you a 1 to 2 year actual loan on it. And from there, they use the CD as collateral, and then you pay every single month on this loan. So now you have revolving credit, you have a structured auto loan or structured loan. So this will actually build up your credit just as well. And between both these things, within 90 days, you should see a significant change in your credit. But once you secure all these actual trade lines, you go ahead and you start cleaning off your credit. Now, unfortunately, a lot of these fake credit gurus won't tell you this. I don't recommend doing these like $60, $70 a month things. Try to find somebody that's actually good that delivers. Unfortunately, I have a friend here in Vegas that does it, but he's way too expensive and he's completely booked out. So if you do credit repair and you're actually good and you could show me proof, email me in the link below. But what I would recommend doing is paying to get certain trade lines off. Every time they do something, offer a bounty. Okay, I want you to take off this trade line. I'll give you $500 to $1,000 and just do that along the lines of your credit. Get all the inquiries removed. It's not that hard. There's actually a lot of people out there that do this. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, I'm not going to go get secured credit cards and basically give them money so I can borrow money back. I'm going to buy trade lines or authorized users. Don't waste your time, especially because now that we're in an economic recession, banks don't like authorized users. They want to see real trade lines that you're liable for. This is the most important thing. So I would build these trade lines and then clear off your credit. Now, if you want to add a few authorized trade lines, maybe your mom adds you onto a credit card that she's had for 10 years and you want to get a quick boost up in score, that's fine. But the way the banks and the dealerships look at it now is we literally just mark off authorized users like they don't matter because we know all the tricks and all the scams, especially when it comes to credit repair. A lot of these fake credit gurus on YouTube won't tell you this. There's these things called credit sweeps where they basically clear everything off your credit so you could start fresh. But all the credit bureaus know about this. So that's why I tell everybody, if you actually start building accounts before you clean your credit, this will actually stay. All of a sudden, if you're a grown man and you're 40 years old and they start wiping your credit clean and you don't have any new trade lines posting, it's going to send up a bunch of red flags. And this is why you see a lot of people in all these credit gurus comment section paid them a bunch of money, and then 60 to 90 days, all that stuff that they cleared off came back because it didn't pass through the second follow through. So it's very important that once you get some established trade lines, you show that you're paying and you clear a little bit of that stuff off. It'll actually help your credit tremendously, and it'll help keep those things from bouncing back up so you don't get flagged by the credit bureaus. So now we'll get into the 3 different examples. So let's say you don't want to do this. You don't want to wait. You don't want to save money. You don't want to build your credit. You just want to buy a car today. I'm going to tell you exactly what you're going to need to do if you've had a repo. Now, if you've currently had a repo, here's the downfall. You need to humble yourself. This is probably the biggest thing that we see. So I'm going to be using this Mercedes as a demo. So most of the people that come in with repos want a car just as nice or nicer than the car that they just had repo. You need to bring yourself back down to reality. You need something affordable. You need something cheap, like this beautiful smart car here. Now, the reason why is if you can just suffer between 6 months to 9 months and show somewhat of a payment history that you're getting back on your feet, that is the most important thing of all. I'd rather have you pay 29% on a $10,000 loan than paying 29% on a $35,000 loan. This is very important. You know, you ever heard that terminology like, oh, you earn your credit? It's wrong. You pay for your credit. If you go the Mercedes route, you're going to pay 3 to 5 times more than just getting a cheap economy car to build your track record. 6 months passes very quickly. I see so many people so excited to rush in and do all this crazy stuff. Currently right now, would I like to be driving a Lambo? Of course I would. When I'm watching the market, everything's going down. I sold my R8. I'm actually driving a smart car every single day, believe it or not, which is okay. I'm all right with that because I know deals are coming. I can be patient. I'm paying off some of my credit card debt because I know the deals are coming. You should be patient as well. You're not out in the limelight basically driving a smart car, and I literally look like a clown driving through Las Vegas. I'll put a picture of my car somewhere up here. But the most important thing is to show the banks that you can handle payments and you have no problems. Now remember, insurance is almost doubled or tripled. So you don't want to have a $500 car payment and then have maybe another $600 insurance. Get a cheap $300 car payment and maybe a $200 insurance payment, and this will basically guarantee your success so you can start building your trade lines. Now, once you show the banks that you have the willing to basically build your credit, and maybe you just had a fallout, maybe you lost your job, the economy got tough, but you're currently rebuilding your credit and you're making the appropriate steps to move forward, banks don't want to be the first one to give you a line of credit. They always want to be the second or third. So that's why getting your first auto loan is very, very hard. That's why I recommend doing the secured credit cards and the secured CD, because once you have those, they're more willing to give you a line of credit. But if you're going to buy one of these cheap cars, like a $10,000 car, don't be surprised if they ask you for $3,500 down, because they want to make sure that you're totally secure in the car. And don't cry or squawk about interest. There's nothing worse than when I see people that are late on all their credit card bills and all their payments, and they get upset because they're paying 15 or 20%. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. You have to buy your credit score back. You have to earn it. So starting with something very cheap and affordable is probably the best way to go. Don't go Mercedes, don't go BMW, go regular American, Japanese, or Korean cars, something that's under like 15,000 bucks, preferably if you're reestablishing your credit, if you've had a repo. So the next example we're going to be going over is if you have bad credit. Now, unfortunately, it's a little bit more convoluted. I can't just give a one simple answer for everything, but I'll try to do as much as I can to give you a broad answer to help you go in the correct direction. Now, whether you have your credit cards that are maxed out and that's why your score is down, or if you're maybe late on your credit cards, you're late on your student loans, you have child support, whatever the crazy thing is, there's different things we can do. Now, the first thing is if you actually have a lot of debt and you're upside down, pay down your credit card literally like a week or two before you actually go buy a car. Because if you go for some of these auto approvals like Capital One, PenFed, Navy Fed, you can actually get approved with no money down. They're one of the few banks that still will do automatic approvals with zero money down. So I would recommend doing that. Also, you need to know the date of every single credit card or bill that you have when it posts, because the second it posts and you're good to go, you can go ahead and run your credit that second, so you know you'll never be late. I mark mine on my calendar because I know right now a lot of people are struggling to make their bills on time. So the next bit of advice is a little bit controversial, but it's 100% true. If you have a bunch of collections on your credit, don't keep continuing to pay them or work them off. I know this sounds bad. I've done it myself. Even if you pay off a massive collection, you don't get any positive points. It will still show up on your credit as an actual collection, and it won't raise your score 1 point. So I recommend, instead of wasting thousands of dollars paying these people off, go ahead and pay someone that does credit repair to get those collections off. Now, it's fairly easy to get a lot of the collections and charge-offs off your accounts. And so you'll save a lot of money doing that instead of just basically going through this hamster wheel trying to pay them off, especially when a lot of these debtors will keep continuing to sell your credit. I've seen people come into my dealership that literally had letters proving that they paid off and made some sort of arrangement with one credit union when all of a sudden another collection company bought that line of of credit and is trying to go after them for the exact same bill. It happens all the time. So that's why there's so many laws out there where it's very easy for a lot of these credit repair people to get those collections off your credit. So the next scenario is a first-time buyer. Now, a few years ago when you're a first-time buyer, we could give you a $30,000 loan at maybe 2.9% interest, and you could pick out whatever you want, and even give you maybe $3,000 to $5,000 on the back end if you wanted warranty or wheels or something like that. But today, all those programs pretty much have died. It's very, very hard to get first-time buyers real low interest rates. A lot of them want you to buy and earn your credit score. So unfortunately, don't go to a dealership when you're first looking. I strongly recommend, if you're a first-time buyer, go to your local credit unions and ask them if they have any first-time buyer programs. There are still some smaller credit unions that will work with you, or local state banks, don't go to these big ones, that will help you out and get you going. Now, unfortunately, you will have to pay a little bit of higher interest when you first go around, but once again, don't buy that Mercedes, buy that cheap, affordable economy car, so this way you can guarantee your success for 3 to 6 months. Now, if you have a cheap cash car that you're currently driving, you can go to some of these credit unions and tell them, say, hey, look, I got this cheap little smart car. I want to build my credit. Can I give you the title? And then I can borrow $1,500 against my car and make payments on it. So this way I'm no longer a first-time buyer, or I'm rebuilding my credit. They will allow you to do that as well. There's a lot of small credit unions, state banks that will do that. They don't really care about the year of the car, just as long as there's some perceived value when it comes to Kelley Blue Book. But if you do this and you pay off that one loan, it sounds funny, even if it's a $1,500 loan. As a dealer, I can go to the bank and say, look, this guy, he made his payments, he paid off this, his first auto loan with shiny colors. He is no longer a first-time buyer. I'd like to give him 3% at maybe 72 months, and he wants a $36,000 car. It sounds crazy, but that's the way the banks and some of the credit bureaus will look at it. You're no longer a first-time buyer. You have a proven track record. Now, if you can do that, once again, go back and get the secured credit cards as well, secured CD, ask about all these programs on how to build your credit. There's a lot of really cool programs that credit unions and local state banks have when it comes to first-time buyers. Now, this is going to sound funny, and I don't know why this is. Sometimes it's actually easier to get a car loan when you have bad credit than when you have no credit. It makes no sense to me. I'm more likely to give you a risk or give you a try on a new car and see what you have, compared to somebody that basically repeatedly show me that they can't pay on time and they'll just keep giving this guy car loans. I never understood that dynamic. A lot of the lenders tend to do that. So to kind of skip this and bypass that, I would definitely recommend doing that, something simple. And on top of that, I've done this before where I've literally bought in a car, borrowed money out of it, and then had it for about a month or two, so it reported on my credit, and then you just pay it off. And now you have a paid trade line on your credit, and your score will shoot up quite a bit. So these are some of the things I recommend doing if you have bad credit. Now, don't believe in the hype. There's all these tricks and stuff. You apply at 4 p.m. on Wednesday in a leap year, and somehow you're magically going to go through with it. Those programs only work when the economy is good and the money is flowing. But now that the economy is tightening up, it's going down, banks are going to try to figure out how to offset their risk. If you think about a bank as a casino, that's all they're doing, is they're hedging their bet to make sure that they won't lose. How do they do this? They're going to lend less money. So if this car is worth 10 grand, they're probably going to give you maybe an $8,000 loan because they don't want to be upside down in the car. Let's say traditionally I can get you 50 months on this $10,000 car. Now they maybe only hit you at maybe 36 to 48 months. They're going to shorten the term. Also, the interest rate. I used to get you maybe 3% on this car. Now you're probably looking at maybe 12 to 15% if you're a first-time buyer, because they want to make sure that they offset their risk of losses. So all these things keep adding up to make it harder and harder for regular people to actually be able to buy a car. Now, these are just the general ideas of how to get one. If you have high DTI, which is debt to income, that's a complete other video, but basically you're going to have to pay down your loans. It doesn't matter if you do some of the tricks that I told you about. If all your credit cards are maxed and you can't get under a certain DTI threshold, which means your income has to be, your payment has to be 20% of your income, it's going to throw you for some loops. But if you overall care about your credit, I would highly recommend getting the secured credit cards. Even if you have okay credit now, every time you add a secured credit line, you're just boosting your credit. And then if you really want to work with some of these credit gurus and buy authorized users and trade lines, you can. But remember, without primaries, and this is important, authorized user is not a primary. If you have primary accounts, that's what the banks are going to look for. That's the most substantial thing. All these credit hacks and credit guru things that you think are going to work, that shit doesn't work anymore. Dealers are hip to it. Banks are hip to it. Credit bureaus are hip to it. So Anyways, if you have any questions, please comment section below. If you have any tips or tricks for yourself, or if you have a credit union or bank that does some really good financing, secured credit cards, or anything like that, please put in the comment section below. The whole purpose of this channel is to be transparent about the automotive industry and help share and grow our network. Also, if you want to join our online community, please go in the link description below. Go to our website. You can sign up. We have weekly Q&As where you can ask me questions live on camera, and I'm going to actually be starting a second channel here in a little bit. We're still figuring that out. But once again, please like and subscribe if you learned anything. Follow us on Instagram at Lucky Lopez, and we'll see you next video.